Let's bring to mind the three refuges. So we begin by taking refuge in the Buddha. And this could be the historical Buddha or the possibility of awakening within ourselves, within our Sangha, within this precious human life, that possibility of waking up to how things really are, that possibility of finding freedom and relief from suffering, from stress, from the struggle. I go for refuge in the Buddha. Whether you're ready to continue to take refuge in the next jewel, that is the jewel of the Dharma. Taking refuge in the Dharma. This is the teachings of the Buddha. This is the teachings of universal truth that all religious and spiritual traditions point to. The Dharma is the way things really are, the nature of how things are. So taking refuge in what is real and what is true. The refuge in the Dharma within myself. The truth that we can discover within us. And first by finding that stability within ourselves, and then to discover and remember the characteristics of existence and the noble truth about this very human life. And lastly, taking refuge in the Sangha. This is our spiritual home, consisting of our friends, our guides, our teachers, and also our ancestors, those who have come before us, who have paved the path, who have shown us the way, who have lived the teachings and now give us this sense of faith and confidence. So going for refuge in the Sangha, in the beloved community that supports us in remembering what is real, what is true, and reminding us to come back to the path of practice, the path of compassion and wisdom. as often as we can throughout our days. Anytime we take refuge in the triple gem, perhaps we can experience the protection and safety that the triple gems offer us, helping us to come out of forgetfulness, come out of our delusions, come out of ignorance, and come back to remembering how things really are. And the three refuges also helps us know of a stable place that we can rest in, anchor ourselves into as we navigate all the highs and lows of life. This is our true refuge. The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha within us, outside of us, and within us. I'd like to now take a moment to welcome you all into this special space of this inclusive community of Pacific Northwest meditation. Pacific Northwest meditation is based out of Portland, Oregon, on the unceded lands of the indigenous peoples, including the Confederate tribes of the Grand Ronde, Siletz, and many more. Our vision is to foster a diverse community that supports the practice of all who seek to improve their lives through meditation, service, and study of the Buddhist path of peace, compassion, and wisdom. Our mission is to cultivate a sense of belonging for new and experienced practitioners from the widest possible range of backgrounds, ages, races, ethnicities, cultures, sexual orientations, gender identities, socioeconomic classes, religions, political views, disabilities, neurodiversities, and beyond. We aspire to be a contribution to the welfare of our community, our society, and the world by offering a space of belonging and support for all folks in underrepresented communities. And we strive to cultivate a beginner's mind to build a sustainable community that practices deep listening, openness, speaking honestly, and acting with ethical intention. And we offer diverse Buddhist teachings, so there are rotating teachers every week and activities that follow a gift economy model, following the tradition of the Buddha, of Dana. We serve and support the transformation of all sentient beings. And here are some guidelines to cultivate a safe and inclusive space. We aspire to do no harm and dismantle barriers that cause separation and suffering, recognizing that our liberation is interconnected with the liberation of all. We acknowledge each of you in all the rich complexities of your identities, including dimensions that may have not been mentioned. And we strive to be a scent-free space for people with sensitivities. So if you can, please refrain from wearing scents when you come. There's a garden in the back for those with neurodiversities looking for a quiet and safe space. And if there are other ways you can signal for comfort in engagement, please feel supported to speak up. And for those on Zoom, you can put it in the chat. And for the safety of our members and to cultivate a space in which all feel free to share. Racist, homophobic, ableist, trans, or non-binary exclusionary language is condoned in this space. And it is our responsibility as a group when we hear something to say something as a call in to help both protect our members and allow growth, communication, learning, and connection. And recognizing that when we are calling each other in, we are supporting each other's awakening from our blind spot, from our biases, from what we don't know, and how we may unknowingly cause harm in our speech or our actions. And so in this space, we come together to practice, and I'm really, first of all, just really happy to see you all here. A lot of new faces here in the space. And then friends who practice with me in the morning. Also, just wonderful to see you. And then for those of you on Zoom, wonderful to see you all. Yes. And so today, I'd like to offer a talk on the elements of true love. And I feel the need to make this disclaimer first and foremost is that while I'm speaking on true love, I'm no expert on love and relationship. So I just want to put that out there. Oftentimes, when there's a speaker that talks about love, in other settings, let's say on YouTube or podcast, there's a way in which, we look to see that, okay, maybe they have this down. They know something about, you know, how to go about this thing called love. And I want to just put it out there that although I dare speak about this, it's from a Buddhist context and it's a practice. So it's not something that I've perfected. So don't come to me asking questions about love and relationships. I mean, and if you do, I will give you some responses, but I don't have the answers. I just have the Buddhist practices that have applied in all the years that have proven some results for me. And the only way I know of that is by inside of community, inside of being in relationship and with people is where that's reflected back, what's effective and what's not so effective. So I really love this way in which we can look at, how to truly love from the Buddhist lens and the Buddhist approach. And one thing I really always find extremely fascinating is that um, in Buddhism, not only are there teachings about, the view to take on, but there's also the manual, the steps, the how to. So how to cultivate that view or how to cultivate that way of being. Because, um, I mean, it's like I think, oh, yeah, I want to be kinder. I want to be, more loving. I want to be more of this and that. But then the question is how, right? So while we hold this intention that we, want to be more understanding and patient and loving and kind, one of the things that I think it's so wonderful in what my one of my first teachers, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, says is that it's one thing that um, we are aware of our intention and this desire to want to love and fully and truly love, but it's another thing to learn and train on that ability to truly love, right? So that intention is there, but that's not enough. So that basically what Thich Nhat Hanh is saying is that intention is just the beginning. Now we have to train in having that ability to truly love. And so, in today, part of this teaching that I'd like to offer is it's it's on practicing how to love others, but also how to love ourselves, because these two things are not mutually exclusive. In the journey of practice, when we when we have this space within ourselves, in our heart and mind, we have space. First, we make space for ourselves, and when we have that space for ourselves, then we can have room for others. We are more available to others. One of the contemplation that I've carried with me through all the years since I was a teenager is a line that was written on a rock at the monastery where one of my actually first Buddhist teacher, who was a monk, who is the abbot of a monastery and also the Buddhist Vietnamese congregation in North America. His name was Thai Thich Thu. He gave me my Dharma name. And on this rock it says, "How can you love if you don't understand?" And I pondered that for many years. And I asked myself, what does that mean? How can you love if you don't understand? And initially, in those younger years, it's like, I know what love is. It's that feeling you have, right, for someone. It's this feeling that, spontaneously arrives. And through the years, I contemplate, what does that mean? How can you love if you don't understand? And as I contemplate that through the years, the meaning revealed itself through the practice. And it first began with that recognition that to love, we must understand. And what is it that we are to understand? Right? So first we must understand the object that we are loving. Right? So understanding the other person. And then to go beyond that, to understand them, we also must understand ourselves, understand our barriers to truly love, to truly open up our heart. And I really sat with that for years as I think about, well, okay, inside of this commitment to understand how to love, to master this skill to love, because there's the desire is there, right? That desire of, okay, wanting to truly love others and wanting to truly love myself is there. Now, how do I come about that in a way that is effective, that has the other person experience love, or that is in alignment to loving myself? So the practice of meditation and mindfulness is a training that helps us develop that ability. And that ability first, is to first have this sense of benevolence to those around us and to ourselves. So that benevolence is, in other words, loving kindness, right? So first we have this attitude of benevolence and kindness that we cultivate within us, seeing others not as separate from us. I think of those times where, let's say in the past, when I would get into an argument with someone I love, and I often would wonder how, my gosh, in one moment, there could be so much love, but in the next moment, we're like enemies. Like there's such a fine line between love and hate. And how could that be possible? Right. So, through the cultivation of loving kindness, first we are developing this sense of benevolence to everyone, to all living beings, to those close to us and those who are distant from us. And that benevolence, is not just a desire to be kind, but it's learning the ability to be kind. So learning how kindness is received. And in today's talk, I want to just share some of these points, and then we'll go into meditation, and then we'll have a short reflection and group sharing afterwards. But this benevolence that we bring to those around us, and then also to be able to have compassion. So, what is compassion? I feel like sometimes that word is used so much, it can be somewhat conceptual. So, compassion um, to me is like this the way in which we can open our heart to feel suffering, to let suffering in, whether it's our own or suffering that we see within others, seeing their pain, seeing their sadness, being able to see and be in touch with their anger. And we're not trying to do anything about it yet. We're just being in their world. And that ability to also help ease their pain simply through our presence. And sometimes compassion tips over to, you know, action so quickly that we at times miss out on just being with that person in their world and how they are experiencing life, how they're going through their highs and lows. I was while I was preparing for this talk, I was with my partner and his 14-year-old daughter, and I had just a couple hours to review some of the teachings. And at that time, uh, the 14-year-old teenager, she asked if I could sit and play games with her, board games. And I was at a moment where I felt really torn. I was like, okay, I have to prepare for this. I don't have time. And I thought to myself, well, I'm preparing a talk about love right now. And there's a child in front of me that's looking for love, that's looking for, affection. And so what I did was I said, I'm practicing love right now. This is the talk. This is through this practice that, I can speak about. And so we played some board games and Jenga, and then it went from one game to the next and to the next. And inside of, this practicing love, I saw myself opening up to just pure presence, just fully being with her, not wanting to be somewhere else, not wishing I was doing something else other than being there. And so one of the elements inside of love is, to me, that aspect of giving each other time and our full attention. So when we can be with each other, with the one that we love in that way, where we offer all of ourselves, our body and mind and heart in the present moment with that person, that's it's it's transformative. It can transform their suffering, their sadness, their sickness. So the 14-year-old has been sick for some days, and just in giving my presence to her, I don't doubt that some of that presence of love helped her heal, helped her realize that she wasn't alone in trying to navigate her sickness, that in true love, there is this possibility that we can heal when someone can touch into our suffering and be there with us, whether it is our sickness, whether it is a stressful situation that we're in, whether it is a knot that we're having inside of our heart. that presence that we can give to that knot, that moment of tension, can help soften it, settle it, and transform it. And so to me, compassion is a way in which we accompany and tend to and look after the pain, the sickness, the suffering, the disease in such a way that we bring our whole body and mind to that which we are wanting to truly love, whether it's within us or in another person. And the practice of meditation helps us to first be mindful and cultivate present moment awareness. And in that cultivation, the mind and body unites, it comes together. And when mind and body are in perfect oneness, concentration arises. And when concentration arises, we are fully with that person or with what's inside of us. And the other aspect of true love is that ability to bring joy and happiness to the person we love. Um, uh, Thai Thich Khan talks about how even when we think we are providing or offering happiness to someone, if we don't know what makes them happy, we could, in fact, cause suffering. And he shared the story about um, a tropical fruit that was offered to him. Does everyone here know what a durian is? Yes, it's that fruit that some people consider really fragrant and others are like very stinky fruit. So yes, um, so some of his students had brought to him a durian fruit, um, and they thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna bring Tai so much joy. He's gonna be so happy. It's a very decadent fruit, and when they brought it to him, he was like, oh my gosh, this thing is so stinky. Get this thing away from me. So we can kind of see how even in what we think will bring someone happiness, if we don't understand them, it could in fact cause them suffering, right? So this practice of practicing how to love is that ability to first understand the person that we want to love. What, you know, what caused them dis-ease, what makes them sad, and what brings them joy, what makes them happy. And so that to truly love is to have that ability to bring joy and happiness to the person we love. And the intention is just the beginning. And then it's the how. How do we cultivate that skill, that ability to be effective in carrying out that intention? And in true love, there is joy, there is happiness. If we experience, sadness, and if inside of our relationship we experience pain and sadness, we have to look deeply to see, you know, what are the causes of our suffering and our sadness and our pain. And the practice of meditation is to deeply look at the suffering and to understand the cause and the conditions of it, and to work to generate and cultivate joy. And I think of these qualities like joy or gratitude as states of the heart mind that we can generate and arouse within us. It's not something that we spontaneously wait for, like a gust of wind to blow by or for that day to be sunny, but it's a quality that with training we can, it's almost like on command, call it in. And this is, as a practitioner, we learn how to be the king and queen of the territory of our mind and our heart. So learning how to arouse these states of mind, learning what thoughts give rise to joy, what words, what actions, and knowing that our suffering and joy is interconnected with the ones we love, and those around us. Any any effort that we make into cultivating these qualities of the heart mind not only benefit us, but it benefits the other person, and then it also ripples outward as well. And through the practice of coming home to ourself, we have this opportunity to examine our body, examine the form, examine our perception, our sensation, examine the mental formation and consciousness. Um, in the book from Zen Master Chinyakan, of True Love, he shares about a really tragic story about misperception. And in the story, um, there was a mother and her son who had been living alone for many years. And one day they finally were united she was finally united with her husband. And in the Vietnamese tradition, um, we pay reverence to our ancestors, and there's an altar that we put up for our ancestors. And so it was a very joyous moment for them to be reunited. And they were preparing for the ceremony in front of the ancestors. And the boy had alone time with his dad, who he never knew. And he had shared with this man that he considered a stranger. He said, you're not my dad. My dad comes and visit every night. And when mother and I are having dinner, he comes and he sits with us. And every night when we go to sleep, he's there with us too. And my mother talks to him. And when the father heard this, he was very upset. And um, he didn't say anything to his wife. And when they began this ceremony of paying reverence to the ancestors, he rolled out the rug and he prostrated in front of the altar. And then after he finished, he rolled it back up and he didn't let her stand in front of the altar. And she was deeply hurt. And she didn't know why her husband was acting this way. And so for days, he ignored her, and he would spend days and nights at the bars drinking and trying to numb the pain that he was feeling about what he thought had happened, that while he was away, his wife was with someone else. And then this pain, just ate her up, and she she jumped off of a bridge into the river and passed away. And so when the husband heard this, uh, when he found out about this, he quickly came back home. And that night, when he was making food for his son, they sat there. And as he turned the oil lamp on, the boy said, "Oh, look, my father's here. He returned. He's back." And he saw his own shadow on the wall. Mm. And in that moment, he realized that through all the years that his wife was alone with the child, that she was talking to her own shadow. And the story just, what it illustrates is that sometimes our misconception or misperception can cause great harm. And when we have pride and we don't express our suffering, that it can cause a lot of destruction. And so one of the mantras that Thai Thich offer in this book is the mantra on how to express the need to ask for help. So to treat an antidote as an antidote to the pride that we feel sometimes when we suffer and we let it build up and we don't say anything, is to be able to say, darling, I'm suffering. Please help. Please help. I need your help. And there's something about that, the vulnerability to say that why is it so hard for us to say when we're hurting? I know in times when in relationships, when I'm hurting, I put on more of a wall and a shell, and I might slip and say something unkind. But when we recognize the anger or the meanness is actually coming from that place where we're suffering, where we're not, where we have a knot inside of us, but we don't know how to say it. Perhaps, the practice of this mantra can help us to actually connect to the ones we love. So if the husband, was able to set down his pride, to come to his wife and say, I heard our son say this, and you explained this to me, how that would have changed the end of that story. Or if the wife could, set down her pride and come to the husband and say, why are you treating me this way? What did I do to deserve this type of treatment? Please help me understand. Right? So to be able to express how much we're suffering is a practice in helping others to love us. And also by expressing our suffering is a way of, to me, it's an expression of love in and of itself. To be able to vulnerably say, I'm suffering. I'm suffering right now, or I'm stressed. I'm not being great right now. And with the practice of mindfulness, with that energy of mindfulness, we can connect to those moments where we feel the tension within us. We feel that knot inside of our heart or our chest or the tension in our mind. And just with, one or two or seven conscious in breath and out breath, we get in touch with the mental formations, the thoughts, the sensations, the feelings within us. Mindfulness can help sponsor those moments of hurt, of anger, right? Of sadness or jealousy. And we're not trying to push those parts of us out, but to see these internal formations weaken just by way of directing our full attention to it, that it transforms and it weakens little by little those seeds inside of us. When mindfulness is present, we are no longer watering those seeds. Because with mindfulness, we see things as they really are. We see that this is a feeling I'm having in this moment. That it's just a feeling. That this is a thought of this moment. And with mindfulness, we create space between awareness and the thoughts or the sensations within. And it no longer has hold over us. It no longer has us freeze or flight or fight. But that inside of that awareness, that there is a wisdom there that we touch into, the wisdom to be vulnerable, to express our hearts, to express the matters of our heart, to ask for help and support. And so the question is, do we have enough mindfulness, enough concentration, and enough practice to touch the foundation of being within ourselves? I'd like to pause there and invite us to sit in meditation, and we will practice looking deeply. So the practice of vipassana is looking deeply, and samatha is of concentration. So we come back to the breath or an anchor in the body and cultivating the sense of present moment awareness. And maybe you're in touch with something in what I've shared that is creating a vibration or a sensation somewhere in the body, acknowledging what's there within, and then also working to nourish yourself with a healthy breath. And whether you choose to sit or stand or walk, choosing a form that is supportive for the next 30 minutes of practice. And at any time, you're welcome to shift and change posture as well. Settling into this body. discovering ways to soften and allow the body to come to rest. Bringing the mind home to the body and sensing into how the body is like in this moment. And does this moment call for more energy or more relaxation? Can you give yourself that gift of presence, that gift of awareness? Just like we would give our full attention to the ones we love, just like we would give our full attention to a child who is not well, who's needing that tender, loving care, can we offer ourselves that tender, loving care and attention? Breathing in, receiving the life energy, breathing out, releasing the tension, the busyness. Calming and soothing the nervous system with each in breath and out breath. Bringing awareness, get in touch with how it feels like inside. nourishing ourselves with this kind and loving attention. Aware of bodily sensations, aware of thoughts as they arise and pass away, perhaps in touch with where there might be a knot inside. Maybe it's in the heart. And we feel the tenderness of being human. I invite you to get curious about what is most supportive in this moment, to continue to breathe consciously and rest in the breath, or to open your field of awareness to phenomena arising and passing away, and perhaps seeing what captures the heart. And in touch with the emotional tone, mindfulness consists of this gentleness, this kindness that we meet each moment with, each phenomena with. Resting, resting in the heart. unfolding, changing nature of our internal experience. With that will, that will to under, that wants to understand, that willingness to stay, stay open, receptive, and curious. In a few minutes, I'd like to invite us to practice sending love to ourselves. And this could look like feeling into the goodness within. See if you can touch that goodness within yourself, or to send this energy of kindness. May I be happy. May I be well. Or perhaps it could be a mantra that we can say to ourselves, to the soft animal of our body. Darling or dear one, I'm here for you. I've come home to be with you. We can say this to our hearts. Dear heart, I'm here for you. I've come home to you. I will listen to you deeply, and I want to understand your concerns, your yearning, your longing. We can say this to our mind. Dear mind, I am here for you. I've come home to be with you. Looking deeply at our mind, offering our presence, offering a full awareness, offering all of our attention to ourselves, is offering true love. And lastly, I invite you to look inside of yourself for where you can acknowledge how you have been being love, how you have brought joy to others, acknowledging good qualities within yourself that is an expression of love. to yourself or to others in these past days or weeks or months. And to twist your kindness, your benevolent ways, your generosity, your patience, your courage, your sacrifices, your commitments, all the expressions of love, your peace, and your joy, your presence, your heart of compassion, recognizing these immeasurable qualities that are within, and to end our meditation, I'd like to uh, invite us to chant the four boundless qualities. You're welcome to chant along with me, or you're welcome to also just listen in if you'd like and just allow the words to penetrate to you. I will share this on the screen. Hear me? Okay. Okay. Let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with compassion. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with gladness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with equanimity, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. Trouble with my screen here. So for those of you who like lists, the four immeasurables, the four boundless qualities are a reference for what it looks like when we cultivate true love. It is the quality of loving kindness, or that sense of benevolence and wishing well-being for others or ourselves, and the quality of compassion, that we can feel the suffering of others and of ourselves fully and deeply and feel moved to help relieve the suffering of others. And then that of gladness or joy, which is, am I offering joy to the ones I love? Do they experience joy? And then the last one is of equanimity. To me, I think of that as in the context of true love, as is there freedom inside of this relationship? Can the other person experience freedom? Are they free to act, free to be, free to speak, free to be exactly as they are and feel accepted, feel like they won't be judged? So that sense of freedom, that sense of peace that we can offer to those we love is an expression of true love as uh, in this context of practicing the Brahma Viharas, the four boundless qualities. And in this particular chant, what I really appreciate is that these qualities are like we don't run out of them. You know, the more we can exude and dwell in these states of mind, the more they start to um, permeate through our body, through our hearts, our mind, and promote well being within us, and then into different areas of our life. So we don't have to reserve them, you know, because that they are some sort of energy that we will run out of. We don't have to bank them, that they are endless, they are boundless. They're like in the chant, it says that they're abundant and immeasurable. So they have no ceiling and no bottom, right? So I'd like to open up the space to invite your share, your reflection. I find that in Sangha spaces, when we share and reflect on how the teachings relate to us or how we struggle and grapple with the teachings, that it really brings it alive for ourselves and for each other. By mapping the teachings onto our own experience, this is where we can give rise to insight. The insight arises from contemplating and reflecting. And even in sharing, you offer yourself, and that's a gift of generosity. When you share your story, when you share your reflections, your contemplation, that is a dharma offering that you offer to the sangha. So there's no right or wrong. There's no I don't know if I should say this or not, but rather the invitation is that in sharing where we are in our journey, that we don't know how it can support others who are listening as well. And for those of you on Zoom, when you feel called to share, you can raise your virtual hand if, or even unmute yourself if there's no one speaking, and everyone in the room will be able to hear you. And for those of you in the room, you'll take this mic here and turn it on, and then everyone on Zoom will be able to hear you. And if you can, please say your name and your pronouns. And, and as we listen in as our friends share, we are also practicing cultivating deep listening, passionate listening. Yes, Margaret. Can everyone see Margaret on the screen over there? Yes. Great.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for this evening, and everyone as well. Uh, you know, one of my favorite teachers, Ajahn Viradamo, uh, uh, well, he helps me among, there are so many things he helps me realize, but one of his mantras, I decided to write it down and put it right next to my screen here, so that I could be reminded to use it. I'm happy to use it as my mantra as well. It's infinite patience, boundless compassion. Infinite patience, boundless compassion, because it helps me to realize that patience and compassion is all, they're both um, um, available at all times. And if you cleanse your heart with that reminder, you recite that to yourself. Um, uh, it's almost like when Thich Nhat Hanh mentioned this, the smile, the half smile or the smile. Even if you're not really feeling it, just to have that there is a reminder that it's okay, and you can open your heart
Mm.
to the goodness.
Mhm.
It's really quite lovely. So
Mm.
just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Margaret.
Mhm.
Thank you. Mhm. And that saying from Thich Nhat Hanh that Margaret is referring to is that sometimes the source of my joy, I'm paraphrasing here, the source of my joy is the reason for my smile, but sometimes my smile, gives rise to joy. So even just smiling, it changes our physiology, and all of a sudden it arouses joy, so that joy can be generated just within us. We don't have to wait for something outside of us, the good news to occur for us to feel joy, but that just by getting in touch with that goodness or the feeling that arises from a smile, that we can touch into the simplicity of how we can access these wholesome qualities of mind and heart.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Can everyone in the room hear Katie? Okay, great. Yes.
Hi, I'm Katie. My pronouns are she, her. And as we were meditating on this topic of love, I tried to pay attention to my mind was kind of rolling around the people that I love and exploring, how is it going with all of them? And my daughter came to mind. She's 11 and going on 16. So that's definitely brought about a challenge that I've never experienced. And having that patience and compassion can be extremely challenging when she's acting like someone her age, and pushing the boundaries. So I'm very grateful to have this practice, and I think it helps me to be a better mom. I've not been perfect and lost patience, but I know that the more that I've practiced meditation, and over the years, I've been able to notice I'm more mindful when I'm not meditating, and just noticing when I start to feel an intense emotion in reaction to my daughter's intense emotions, and giving myself that love and compassion when I notice that has really changed my ability to give her the love that she's needing. And I used to beat myself up when I would react to her emotions. And at some point, I noticed that clearly I was actually adding emotion on top of emotion, because I was not having that, I think, equanimity for what was happening. And I was wanting it to change and not be that. And I was wanting to be the perfect parent, but I didn't know how. And now it feels like, of course, I still have to be mindful, and the feelings are always going to come up. But the more that I practice this and learn to love myself and not judge myself, the more loving I can be for her. Mm-hmm. So, thank you.
Yeah. Katie. As Katie was sharing, what came to mind for me was a teaching from the Buddha about when there's a fire going on inside in our home, where first of all, we're not going to see who started the fire, right? We're not running out of the house looking for who started this fire, but we start by putting out the fire in our home first. We don't add more oil, more fuel into the fire, but we work to put out the fire first. And so I think of that as like, cooling the flames within us, or working to find that stability within when we are feeling caught in reactivity, or, the whatever irritation or anxiety is within another person rubs off onto us. Then we come back to the breathing meditation, anapanasati, right? The teaching from the Buddha to learn to calm and soothe ourselves with the breath, and then come back to stability. And through the practice, as Kate is mentioning, how it can happen so fast. We can calm and soothe ourselves so quickly. It's not like this whole 16 step that we have to go through, but it happens just in like a few seconds, a few breaths. We restore ourselves right away.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I use she, her pronouns. And this is my husband, Harry, sitting behind me. All these teachings and your sharing, Katie, and your sharing, Margaret, have been so helpful. This year, one of my top intentions was to develop patience. And I have a fiery nature. And so it's funny that you even mentioned the house on fire because it's so perfect. And I hope it's, I think Harry would agree that he has also a fiery constitution. And so we're both working on patience this year. And this was really the first time hearing you talk earlier, Trina. It hadn't occurred to me before that patience is a form of generosity. And it's generosity is something that comes naturally to me in many ways of my life. And so I know the joy that practicing generosity gives me. And to be able to sit with patience and think of that as a form of generosity helps me to understand how to do it. Because as you started your talk with, like, right, we have an intention of being loving, an intention of being patient, but what does that really look like in the moment? And if I'm noticing impatience and this rigidity forming, if I can just give myself a moment of the patience, just a moment of the loving generosity of patience, it just sort of changes, the way it feels. And it just puts out the flames, because I'm realizing that impatience for me is a way of starting the flames going, and then interactions don't go better when I'm feeling that. So yeah, see, these are just some of the reflections and just the real feelings that I'm having and putting together with these different sharings and teachings today. So thank you all.
Courtney. Mm, appreciate your vulnerability. And when I think of, that aspect of some of the components that helps us practice love, practicing love is to have time, to make time to practice love, right? In order to love someone, we have to have time for them. And likewise, in order to love ourselves, we have to make time to love ourselves. And that time is offering ourselves that pause to be present, right? To be present. And in today's society, we move so fast that we don't make time. And when we don't make time, it's hard for love uh to arise out of that rush, right? The violence of rushing. And that element that you describe of the ways in which when we are impatient. We talked about this one morning and Wake Up Together too, around impatience, and how we notice, like Courtney was saying, in that the emotional tone of when we're impatient, there's like that rigidity, that way in which the mind is contracted. And when I'm impatient, I know that for me it's like I don't have enough time, right? So hurry up, get that thing for me already, and I think of that movie Zootopia with the sloth, you know, at the at the DMV, and it's just like slowly doing the work and getting me my stuff and registration. And I think of how when we have time, we can be with how people are being. And it's all of a sudden there's that equanimity because we have that space and time. So something that, when I listen to Thai's words and then through just my own experience of when patience is possible is organizing our lives in such a way that we have time to practice meditation while we're standing in line, while we're at the grocery store, while I'm at TSA and I have 10 minutes before the gate close. And, now they took my bag and they're looking through my stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, not right now. And in that moment, I can still practice patience. Or in that moment when I'm feeling impatient, what I was doing was in the last time I traveled, I actually told one of myself. I told the person who was going through my bag and found the Buddha statue that was, the inconspicuous object. And I told myself, I said to him, I said, I'm I'm having a really hard time right now. So that he could, excuse me if I'm gonna say something, if I was gonna misbehave in front of him. I said, I'm having a really hard time right now because my gate is about to close. And it was a moment that he recognized, oh, I can support her, rather than it turn into a fight where I'm like, would you just hurry up? And then he would get mad, right? So it was the way in which that goes back to that mantra of, um, I'm suffering. Please help. I'm suffering. I'm not being great right now. Please help. Please forgive me. I'm afraid.
Okay, I'm camera shy Rob. My pronouns are camera shy he, camera shy him. Um, Such a profound evening. Thank you. Um, I I think what comes to me is the feeling of love and how the illusion of separation is just shattered in moments or in points of view or in states of mind, in situations. And what I'm finding for myself and my practice is that um, I can visit that oneness more frequently now, and it really gives me endless joy to feel that. And I think that the amazing part about shattering that illusion of separation is that it can apply to everyone and anything. So the homeless person that's asking for money at the traffic stop, um, the stranger walking down the path that you smile to, your loved ones, and the generosity and the patience that you can show to them. And yeah, um, it really does feel to me like an incredibly significant gateway. And I'm just so grateful that I'm somehow by chance I bumped into it. So thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Hi, I'm Courtney, she, her. This is my first time coming, so thank you so much.
Welcome.
This year has been a lesson in patience for me. It's been a really hard health year, and I've had to ask for help a lot. But on the bright side, it's brought me to meditation. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now before I start crying now. Thank you.
Welcome, Courtney. Glad you're here. I'm glad you found us. in one of the sutras that I used to chant growing up at the Vietnamese Buddhist temples, there's a line that says, transforming compost into flowers, which is analogous to transforming suffering into love, compassion, and peace, transforming suffering into awakening. And through this practice, we learn how to turn towards the suffering, not to indulge in the suffering, but to befriend the suffering, befriend the dis-ease, the illness, the pain of aging, sickness, of death, and taking that as a teaching for us to see our way to freedom, to liberation, to understand how to love, how to be more kind and compassionate towards ourselves and others. So suffering, as the Zen master Tai Tityakan would say, is that, to know of happiness, we have to know of suffering. And those who don't experience suffering can't appreciate happiness, right? And I think we can all, in our own journeys, agree that it was through some amount of suffering that we came in touch with that led us to this path. And having now known of and touched into suffering, having spent some time with the dark night of the soul, that we appreciate and experience even greater joy and peace and love. And so the farmer doesn't, the farmer appreciates, the gardener appreciate the compost and the garbage, knowing that that compost is going to become a flower, and also looking at the flower and the fruit in the garden and knowing that in that is the compost too. So when we free ourselves of the notion of evil and good and right and wrong, it's that we free ourselves from the concepts, and we go beyond the relative understanding of things. We can touch into the ultimate, that suffering and happiness and are the opposite side of the same coin. And that to realize one, we also must understand the other. And so to love, we must understand suffering. We must understand how to generate joy and to allow the space and time for us to look deeply, to stop and look deeply. Because in looking deeply, we can understand if we have any misperception. We can understand the sensation, the feeling tones that are there. Or we can understand the body and the mental formations and understand consciousness. So to meditate, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, is to look deeply at the heart of things. So I'd like to end there. Thank you, dear friends, for joining me and us and Sangha. I'm bowing to awaken nature, the Buddha in each one of you. Thank you for being here and for sharing of yourself, for offering your presence, which is a gift to me and to everyone here. So thank you very much. And I'll just invite the 3 sounds of the bell and we'll breathe mindfully and joyfully together. Body and mind in perfect oneness. May the sound of the bell bring us back to our true home. Please join us again in the next Saturday for a talk from another teacher. And for those of you who would like to continue in the practice of the Brahma Vihara, the 4 boundless qualities, I'll be teaching a retreat on this on February 20th to the 23rd at Trout Lake, Washington, in Trout Lake, Washington, at the Trout Lake Abbey. So I invite you to join me if you'd like to spend more time practicing with these 4 qualities. And also, if you'd like to make a donation, you feel moved and called to help us to continue to sustain this beautiful space of Sangha, and to help us to continue to with bringing in more teachers, diverse teachings from many voices, from many different traditions of Buddhism. Your donation supports that. And so far, from when we started last year, we've had over 10 teachers already teach with us. So, yes, it's been really quite an accomplishment. And we continue, our hope is to continue to bring in more teacher with the donations that you make that will go directly to these teachers from near and afar. So thank you for your presence. And for those of you online, let's see how you can make a donation. Yes, I'll put this in the chat. And for those here, you can, there's a QR code in the back of the room by the door. And if you're sending it through Venmo to me, please put in PNWM so that those funds will go to our Pacific Northwest account. And donations that are made that have a trail are tax deductible. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And
Thank you, Trina. Thank you. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
bye, Courtney and Harry. Bye, James. Good to see you.
Bye. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Good to be with you all. Ready for takeoff. 3, 2, 1.